2 Corinthians chapter 4. Today we'll begin reading at verse number 8. 2 Corinthians 4, beginning at verse 8. We are troubled on every side, yet not distressed. We are perplexed, but not in despair. Persecuted, but not forsaken. Cast down, but not destroyed. Always bearing about in the body the dying of the Lord Jesus, that the life also of Jesus might be made manifest in our body. Preach to you on the subject of looking up in this present evil world. Looking up in this present evil world. Now, this is a subject that has been assigned for me for an upcoming Bible conference. And I've been thinking about it ever since I got the subject two or three weeks ago. And really felt led to preach it here today. I like how Paul, under inspiration of the Spirit, puts it in the word here: troubled, but not distressed. I like how it's how the Bible how that Paul puts it when he says, perplexed but not in despair, persecuted but not forsaken, cast down but not destroyed. Let's think about each one of those for a moment. First of all, troubled but not distressed. How stressful can this world be? How much stress there is in the world and around the world, but look up. Look up. There's trouble everywhere. People get distressed and bent out of shape and all kinds of worry and grief, but he says we're not distressed. Look up. Perplexed, but not in despair. Oh, how things seem difficult or hard to understand or hard to figure out. But we aren't without hope. Persecuted, but not forsaken. Oh, how Paul and that generation, and the generations that were to come, how they were persecuted, jailed, stoned, hunted. But praise the Lord, He was never forsaken. When the persecution comes here, and mark my word that if the Lord does not soon come back, we will see persecution. When it comes, you'll find it to be true as well. Persecuted, but not forsaken. The Lord will be with you just like the Lord was with every one of those who have been persecuted in the generations that have come before us. Cast down, but not destroyed. I'm telling you, we will and perhaps have been pushed down, but we won't be destroyed. Look up. Look up. Looking up in this present evil world, I'd like to start off by saying that this world is presently evil. This world is presently evil. I know that some people may think that that's given, but other people may be ignorant of that fact. May not know how evil this world is, but it is evil. The world's not getting evil. The world is evil. Right now, today, at this very minute, we live in an evil world. 2 Timothy chapter number 3. 2 Timothy chapter number 3. Begin at verse 1. This know also, that in the last days perilous times shall come. For men shall be lovers of their own selves, covetous, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy, without natural affection, truce breakers, false accusers, incontinent, fierce, despisers of those that are good, traitors, heady, high-minded, lovers of pleasures more than lovers of God, having a form of godliness, but denying the power thereof. From such turn away. For of this sort are they which creep into houses, and lead captive silly women laden with sins, led away with divers lusts, ever learning, never able to come to the knowledge of the truth. We'll stop there in this passage, but he says, this know also, that in the last days perilous times. Well, first of all, I believe that we are in the last time. So the days that the Bible speaks of as being future are here now. I don't believe that we as God's people at this point need to be looking and saying, wondering when the last days are going to be coming. I believe we need to be looking for Jesus Christ to come. We are in those last days, and he says that perilous times will come with those last days. What does that mean? That means dangerous times. Dangerous times. It's an evil world. Evil world. Beloved, read the newspapers, read the blogs on the internet, watch TV, or go out to the mall and just sit. Watch people, observe, listen to their conversations. Get on the government websites and just look at the bills that are being brought before Congress. Think about what would happen if they got passed, some of them. Go in a crowd of people in this world and just observe and listen. Ask questions. And you'll find out how evil of a world that we live in. The book of 1 Timothy chapter 4. First Timothy chapter 4, beginning verse 1. Now the Spirit speaketh expressly, that in the latter time some shall depart from the faith, giving heed to seducing spirits and doctrines of devils, speaking lies and hypocrisy, having their conscience seared with a hot iron, forbidding to marry, and commanding to abstain from meats which God hath created to be received with thanksgiving of them which believe and know the truth. We live in a world in which popular religion is anything except the religion of Jesus Christ. We live in a world when we have become so postmodern that everyone throws around tolerance and coexistence, but whenever you start really getting into it, they'll tolerate anything and they'll coexist with anything up until you get into the Bible. They'll tolerate views on just about anything. When you bring up the Bible, they hate it. They won't tolerate it. And they don't want to coexist with you. Dangerous. Dangerous. It's easy to get discouraged and down in this present evil world. To throw up your hands and say, what's the use? May as well give up. It's not going to get any better. And you're right about that. Not until the Lord comes back. Well, let me tell you, we shouldn't be discouraged and down as time marches on. There may come a time when you'll look back on today and say, boy, it wasn't as bad as what it is now. And that's a scary thought. This world's evil. There may come a time in this country when churches are down to just 2 or 3 families and have to meet in somebody's basement or some secret place, because to meet anywhere in public can get you into a lot of trouble. Death or a hurt. You look at the things that are going on in this world, just looking at the American Bill of Rights, there's a fierce attack on the ability to defend ourselves, the freedom there. Once that's chipped away enough, they'll come after the First Amendment. And with the way things are going in this world, hate crime laws and everything, preachers that still stand against sin, stand on the truth, well, they'll be shut up or shut down. Or tried to, anyway. This book, the Bible, be declared a hate book. If the Lord don't come back here real soon. Amazing what an iPhone sounds like when it hits the floor. Good thing it was Jill's and not mine. But we do live in an evil world. There's coming a time when people may get too afraid to even show up in church like this. What will you do? What will you do? What if it becomes against the law? What will you do? A lot of people, I'm afraid, will just quit. It's out of fear. But let's look at the here and now. Evil in this present evil world. Evil presents itself in a lot of different ways. And we read 2 Timothy 3, and you go through that list, and it's almost like reading a newspaper or watching TV. But I can tell you, evil in this present world presents itself differently in different areas. And sometimes even in the same community and amongst the same church, evil may present itself differently in different homes. Why, one home may be confronted with evils of pornography and be battling that. Another family may be struggling with the evils of drug abuse and be fighting that. Evil may come to your door or come in. You may be dealing with a neighbor or co-worker who day in and day out taunts you for what you believe. Evil world that we live in. Maybe your family is dealing with rebellion. It might be a rebellious teenager or a rebellious spouse. Evil comes in all sorts of packages. And we don't ever open the front door and say, "Come on in, evil. Welcome to my house. Wreak havoc however you want." But it seems like evil finds a way to attack in some way or another in this evil world that we live in. But one thing is for certain. Whatever way that you're dealing with this evil world, whatever way it rears its ugly head in your family or in your house, however way it's rearing its ugly head in your community, your neighborhood, we live in an evil world. What can we do? What can we do? Well, as I said, my sermon is looking up in this present evil world. And while evil may show itself differently to different people, the truth is we live in an evil world, but the other side of the coin is look up. Look up. We can't just crawl into bed, stick our head in the sand, and hope it goes away, because it won't. It won't. Romans chapter 8. Verses 18 and 19. It says, "For I reckon that the sufferings of this present time are not worthy to be compared with the glory which shall be revealed in us. For the earnest expectation of the creature waiteth for the manifestation of the sons of God." Paul said, hey, there's a lot of things going on in this world, sufferings and so on, but he said, I reckon that the sufferings of this present time are not worthy to be compared with the glory which shall be revealed in us. Think about this for a moment. The sufferings, the toil, the trials, the temptations, all those are hard. And in this present evil world that we live in, some days seem darker than others. We live in a depressing world. I reckon that there's probably more people on antidepressants and being treated for those things today than what ever has been. Trouble on every side, heartache and all this stuff that people are going through. But he says, look up. Think about this. The sufferings of this present time are not worthy to be compared with the glory that shall be revealed in us. If you were to have a house filled with gold and precious stones, and I know some of y'all may be thinking, well, I wouldn't have any troubles then. It'd all be good. That really changed my outlook of this evil world. But go with me for a moment. If you had a house full of gold and precious stones, your troubles wouldn't be over, by the way, and we can look at that at another time. But you'd be worried to death that someone would beat your door down to get it, wouldn't you? And there have been some home invasions. Heard on the news just recently one happened in Mansfield. Maybe others, I don't know, but people get pretty desperate. They get they need money for drugs or whatever. They'll go robbing you, me, and everyone else, and they won't care. They won't care what time of the day it is. Sometimes it's scary. But now you think about this. If your home is full of gold and precious stones, boy, wouldn't that be something? Someone is liable to beat your door down to get it, but it'd be something else. But one of these days, child of God, you will be in a mansion. And all that gold, precious stones, well, that'll be pavement and building material. Pavement and building materials. We've got something greater. We've got something greater than all that. There's more to life than the here and now. And he says the sufferings of this present time, they're not worthy to be compared with what we've got coming. 2 Corinthians chapter 4. 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verses 17 and 18. Well, let's start with verse 16. For which cause we faint not, but though our outward man perish, yet the inward man is renewed day by day. For our light affliction, which is but for a moment, worketh for us a far more exceeding and eternal weight of glory. What we look not at the things which are seen, but at the things which are not seen. For the things which are seen are temporal, but the things which are not seen are eternal. He says a couple things here. First of all, outwardly, our outward man, yeah, it perishes, it gets worn out and all that, but the inward man is renewed day by day. Look up, look up. It says that affliction, whatever it is, it's light. It's light. Not as bad as we might think. It's only for a moment. Now some people might say, wait a minute, preacher. You don't know what I'm going through. You don't know how bad it really is. You're right. I might not know how bad it really is. Sometimes we don't know until we've been in the other person's shoes. The preacher talked about at the conference that I was just at. He talked about a man that he was trying to really get to get to relate to. A preacher down in Kentucky, and he just couldn't figure him out. Couldn't quite get on the same page, same level as this man. And the reason for it was this man had lost his dad, and the preacher was having a hard time getting on the same level, same page. He just couldn't understand that because the preacher had his dad with him all his life. But then one day, the preacher lost his dad. His dad died. And at that moment, from that day forward, he understood the other man a lot better than what he was able to before. And they became very, very close. Sometimes we might not understand each other's afflictions. We might not understand the sufferings that we go through because we've never been there. And that's okay. Sometimes all we need to do is really just listen. The other person talks and have a shoulder ready for a brother or sister to cry on. We may not understand everything about it, but just to be there for support and help. But and that's something that sometimes I've struggled with before. Empathy is something that is very, very helpful in those situations. But Paul says our affliction's light. Our affliction's light. I'm going through this and this and this, and I've got this laundry list of things. How can it be light? How can Paul know it's light? How can David know it's light? How can the Bible know? Just look at it in perspective. You're going through a storm. And that's what tribulations and trials are like, aren't they? They're like storms. The waves are crashing. Seems very, very dangerous. Very hard. Very difficult. In fact, any sailor that's ever been on the sea, they've ever gone through a storm, no storm worse than the one that they're going through. Because at that very moment, they've got to try to get through that storm. And the adrenaline's going, and the fear is there, and it's just very, very stressful, and it's a horrible situation. Can't say to a sailor that's going through one hurricane, well, you know, it could be worse. Remember that other hurricane? No, at that very minute, all that sailor's worried about is surviving the hurricane he's in right now. Afterwards, maybe he'll talk about other hurricanes and debate which was worse. But at that very minute, that hurricane that he's trying to get through is the worst that there's ever been. So what's that mean for us? Well, whatever storm, whatever trial we're going through at that very instant, it may seem like it's the very worst thing that's ever happened to anybody in the world, and nobody else understands, and nobody else has been through it. But guess what? The waves, as they're crashing in, and they might seem like they're going over the ship and over our heads, but when the waves are over our head, they're under His feet. I know the master of the wind, the maker of the rain, the one who could step out in the storm and calm the seas. The affliction's light because of who's with me. And sometimes we're too busy looking all around us at the storm. We need to look up where our help comes from. Deuteronomy chapter 31. Deuteronomy chapter 31, verse number 6. Be strong and of a good courage, fear not, nor be afraid of them. For the Lord thy God, He it is that doth go with thee. He will not fail thee, nor forsake thee. God promised the people of Israel that they could have good courage and have great strength. Why? Because He would be with them. That He would never fail them, nor forsake them. And we read through the Old Testament, and we read of their lack of faith, and we read how they murmured and how they complained, and we think, wonder why they did that. God was with them, and we see the end result, and we know that God was with them. But yet, what about us? What about us? Those people of Israel went through some pretty hard times, some pretty tough times. I know I wouldn't want to walk through a desert for 40 years. I know I wouldn't want to face some of the giants that they did. The Lord was with them. We go through some desert times. We go through some storms. And we go through facing some giants. And the Lord has promised to be with us in Matthew chapter 28. Matthew chapter 28 and verse 20. The end of the Great Commission there, He says, teaching them to observe all things whatsoever I have commanded you. And lo, I am with you always, even unto the end of the world. The world's not ended yet, so I can grab hold of this verse and know that the Lord is with me. He's promised never to leave me nor forsake me. And somebody says, well, wait a minute. Haven't you seen in this present evil world how many of them there are and how few of us there is? You know, in Matthew chapter 18, and verse number 20, for where two or three are gathered together in my name, there am I in the midst of them. And you go through history. church history, Christian history, and you'll find time and time again the Lord's people greatly outnumbered, greatly outmanned, and the Lord was with them. Matthew 16 and verse 18. I say also unto thee that thou art Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church. The gates of hell shall not prevail against it. Come what may. Whatever may happen in this present evil world, look up. Be strong and of good courage. This affliction is light. Not even the gates of hell will prevail against the Lord's church. God's people, we have an assurance. God has always taken care of His people. Evil has existed in all ages. Why do we think that right now, as bad as it is, that we should worry or fret as if God has vacated His throne, or that the world is too evil that He can't do anything about it? And yet sometimes that's how we act. God has not left the throne. The world is not so evil that God has lost control, and His promises are still true. Look up. Look up. In closing, Isaiah chapter 51. Isaiah chapter 51 and verse 6. Lift up your eyes to the heavens, and look up on the earth beneath. For the heavens shall vanish away like smoke, and the earth shall wax old like a garment. They that dwell therein shall die in like manner. But my salvation shall be forever, and my righteousness shall not be abolished. This world's going to pass away. Everything in it. This country is being destroyed. Trouble is on hand at every side. But I'm saved forever. The Lord is with me forever, and there's some things that I can count on that whatever may happen in this evil world that we live in, we can count on one thing, and that is the Lord. Look up. Look up in this present evil world. May the Lord bless you with this message. Brother Joe, would you please pray for us?